Another College Football 26 beta tester has come forward with news regarding gameplay. They have dissected gameplay into sections based on the position, more specifically how it compares to the College Football 25. So I thought it'd be interesting today to go over those as well as just give my thoughts on it. So with that being said, let's get straight into it. The first one is going to be the quarterback position, and honestly, it's the most boring. He says, I feel like nothing has changed. Whatever guys you like in 25, just stick with it in 26, which can be good and bad. For me personally, I like the quarterback system. I really liked how you could control the arc of the ball, how hard you wanted to throw it instead of just bullet or lob. So I'm glad they're sticking with that. I think it's kind of a staple of college football, the series as a whole at this point. So I'm glad they're not affecting that too much. I mean, there's not much to say about it. We're going to go ahead and move on to running back. There's a lot more to talk about with running backs. He says, this is where you're going to win and lose games. For far too long, running backs haven't been dangerous enough. That includes Madden, college football. Running backs catching in the flat specifically isn't a check down anymore. Guys with make-miss ability are smooth and consistent and not stuck in the mud. One-on-one with a safety is an easy TD with the right guy very, very consistently. The first thing I want to take from this is that this guy's point about the running backs in football games is absolutely correct. I agree that running backs have felt stuck in the mud for about the last 10 years across the board in football video games. So I'm glad they're putting in more effort to make, better stats for running backs, making guys miss and stuff like that. I think that's going to be super good for the game. I hope they're not too overpowered, but obviously that's for every position. I just feel like the inclusion of making safeties miss and stuff, if you have a higher rating, I think that's realistic and it makes running more worthwhile, because right now almost everyone just passes. I mean, if you're a casual player, passing is a lot more fun obviously, but now if you have running backs that can make plays out of nothing and make it exciting, I definitely think running will become more popular in 26. Once again though, I want to make sure that I'm not saying I don't want it to be unbalanced. I'm just saying it needs to be buffed from where it was before, because running has always just felt kind of useless, and 1 to 2 yard gains, who even wants to waste a play on that? For wide receivers, he says not much has changed outside of speed ratings, and it's across the board for every position. To get a 95 speed player anywhere will require upgrade points, so players' actual skill will be a factor. The addition to gadget wide receivers makes formation subs elite, but the fastest one I found was an 87 speed, and that's searching rosters after year 5. But this game's all about skill, and they can make 2 to 3 guys miss and turn a 5-yard catch into a 50-yard TD. Now that last part is actually the thing that stuck out to me most when I first read this, because last year you had your breakout plays, but it felt kind of artificial and stuff. Now it sounds like if your player is better, he's gonna do that a lot more, and the players who aren't that good are gonna not do it as much. So the thing about gadget receivers also plays into that. And for those of you who don't know, gadget receivers are just the archetype of receivers that are kind of short, super athletic, can make really good plays with the ball. You know the type in real life. So since it sounds so skill based, as in skill of the actual player, in College Football 26, I actually like the addition, because now you can break out those big plays and who your playmakers are. Another thing I want to mention, later down in the comments, they were talking about cornerbacks, and he said that the receivers were mossing the cornerbacks a lot more often, which if you've played football games before, that can get super annoying. So hopefully that's balanced out. But he did say that cornerbacks drop a lot more balls and they're getting mossed a lot more by higher skill receivers. So who knows how balanced that'll actually be. We're just taking this guy's word for it, but it's something definitely to keep in mind. Next is tight ends, and he said the only position that felt just like College Football 25, having more route running caps is interesting, but with the addition to weight gain, physical receivers will be more prominent here than College Football 25, which is crazy. When he says physical receivers replacing tight end, I think the point he's trying to get at is once again the skill thing, because receivers are going to be inherently more skilled than tight ends at actually making plays with the ball. So if the game is that much based off skill, you're probably going to want just a bigger receiver at tight end, maybe running the slot, maybe even running a wing that can make a play in the flat and take it to 50 yards like he was talking about with receivers. So maybe the true tight end isn't the move in 26 if that just kind of goes against how the game wants you to play. So I don't know. I think that's another thing we'll have to see. It says they play exactly the same as 25, so you might just have to sub in a receiver there to, make him play a little different than last year. Next, this guy talks about offensive line, and it's kind of all over the place. He says, anything with a pulling guard was a crapshoot is beta. Pass pro was actually way better, but the run game was way too inconsistent. Stick with whatever you had in 25. Nothing has really changed. I don't know why he says that last line about nothing has really changed, because he just said things have changed. And the first thing I want to talk about is the pass pro. I had so many struggles last year when I wasn't messing with the sliders of just getting sacked over and over again. Even when I'm playing, an even team, I should have time in the pocket to make a move, and I just don't. So I hope that pass pro thing is true. I hope we are given more time as quarterbacks. Once again, I hope a realistic amount of time. If I'm playing, Ohio State, then I'll probably get rushed a lot quicker than if I'm playing Minnesota. So we'll just have to see how that's balanced out. He said the run game was way too inconsistent, which I guess means how quickly the guys are getting through the line and stuff, which I guess is kind of realistic. I mean, in real life, if you're a better team, you're going to have good success, but if you're even team, sometimes you just get lucky on the blocking patterns and stuff like that. So maybe running inconsistent, you have a great play and then a bad play. So maybe it's just like gambling when you're handing the ball off to see how much yards you're actually going to get, hoping for that big spark play. Next is defensive linemen. He says, these guys will gain 15 to 20 pounds now. I didn't test abilities, but projecting upside will be a big deal. Linebackers to defensive ends will be more prevalent now, since those 218 linebacker guys can get to 230. So it sounds like weight is going to play more of a factor in the dynasty mode for this, because he keeps talking about weight and gaining weight throughout, I guess, seasons and stuff like that, which affects how the game plays. So there's not much to go off here. D lineman is D lineman. It's how quick you get through the line, and you can move linebackers to D ends because of the weight gain thing, which I guess applies to all the defense, like he said. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to linebackers, just because there isn't much to talk about here. He says athlete linebackers are 87 to 89 speed. This will probably get buffed. That's faster than 90% of DBs. If they don't buff them, everyone will have a whole defense of athletic linebackers due to corners having 83 to 87 speed, which is really good compared to wide receivers. I think he meant to say nerfed instead of buffed, because linebackers should get worse, which means nerfed. And I definitely think it's interesting. Athletic linebackers, 87 to 89 speed. This is beta though, so like I talked about in my previous video, the tuning is going to be really off, but it just sticks around to, launch. He's right. People are going to put these 220-pound, 89 speed linebackers across the whole entire field, which is completely unrealistic. So I hope they fix that by the time of release. There's no reason why athletic linebackers should be faster than corners and safeties. Speaking of safeties, he says, very average in my opinion. Wide receivers or athletic middle linebackers are just better. I expect safeties to get some kind of buff. Too hard to develop, so people will just go with height, weight, speed combo and roll the dice. So it sounds a similar thing with linebackers. They need to be tuned better, because people are just going to have positions all over the field based on their, like he says, height, weight, speed, instead of the actual technical skill based off their position. So if that's the meta, we're kind of screwed. So hopefully they fix that up before release in July. But that's all. Another thing I wanted to mention, he's talked about in the comments, kicking is basically exactly the same as last year, so no need to worry about learning a new complex kicking system. It's going to be the same. And same with punting, same with all that stuff. I talked about corners already. They drop a lot more balls. They get mossed more than usual. Receivers make plays over their heads, which didn't happen all that often last year, so I guess they got nerfed there. So that's about it for all the positions in terms of gameplay. Once again, this is all beta stuff, so none of this can be true by the time the actual game comes out, but there's some truth to it, because they can't obviously rework the whole game in 2 months since the beta testers played it. So I don't know. That's it though for today's video. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far, and I will see you in the next one.